Imagine this: you wake up one day and something feels different. Not in a small way, not in the way you notice a slight change in the weather or the way your body feels after a good night's sleep. No, this is something beyond the physical. It's as if the entire fabric of reality has shifted around you. Your body feels weightless, not because gravity has changed, but because your soul has. Your mind is silent, not because you force it to be, but because it no longer needs to chatter. You are fully present, fully aware, and fully alive. This is the moment the 1% of chosen ones feel when their vibration is at its highest level. But what does it mean to have your vibration at the highest level? What does it feel like? And how do you know if you've reached it? The truth is, most people will never experience this state, not because they can't, but because they are too distracted, too consumed by the noise of the world, are too identified with their thoughts, their past, their fears. But we are not here to be like most people. We are here to transcend. I want you to imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, but instead of water, it is made of energy, an infinite field of consciousness, vibrating at frequencies beyond what the physical senses can perceive. When your vibration is low, you are like a small boat struggling against the waves, caught in fear, doubt, attachment, and suffering. But when your vibration rises to its highest level, you become the ocean itself. You no longer fight against life, you become one with the flow of existence.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Think about this: when was the last time you felt completely at peace? Not just a moment of relaxation, but true peace, the kind that makes you feel like time has stopped and nothing else matters. When your vibration is at its peak, this peace is not something you visit, it is something you live in. You walk through the world as if you are floating, not because you are detached, but because you are utterly connected to everything. At this level, your thoughts slow down, not because you force them to, but because they no longer have the same power over you. You see the mind as it is a tool, not a master. You realize that most of what you used to worry about was an illusion, a projection of fear and conditioning. But you begin to see behind the veil of reality, understanding that everything, every challenge, every joy, every person you meet is simply energy interacting with energy. And then something even deeper happens. You start to feel everything, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that makes you feel truly alive. The wind against your skin feels like a whisper from the universe. The sound of a bird singing is no longer background noise, it is a message, a vibration of life itself. When you close your eyes, you don't just see darkness, you see the infinite, the space where all creation begins. This is why the 1% of chosen ones who reach this level often find themselves withdrawing from the world, not because they reject it, but because they no longer need it in the same way. They do not chase happiness because they realize happiness was never something to be chased. They do not seek meaning because they understand that meaning is not something given, it is something created. But let me ask you this: if you woke up tomorrow and felt this level of awareness, this level of peace, would you be ready for it? Or would you resist it? Would you try to hold onto your old identity, your old fears, your old stories? This is the challenge that every soul must face when stepping into the highest vibration. But the ego does not want to let go. It will whisper that you must hold on to the past, that you must define yourself by your struggles, that you must stay small. But the truth is, you were never meant to stay small. There is a reason why only the 1% feel this level of vibration, because it requires absolute surrender. Surrender is not giving up, It is giving in. It is allowing life to flow through you without resistance. It is trusting that you do not need to control everything because you are already part of something far greater than yourself. And here is the most powerful truth: when you reach this state, the universe begins to respond to you in ways you never imagined. Synchronicities become the norm. You think of something and it appears. You speak and the right people enter your life. You let go and everything you once chased now chases you. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. This is where most people get it wrong. They think raising their vibration is about doing more meditations, more techniques, more effort. But in reality, it is about doing less. It is about removing the blocks, the fears, the attachments that lower your frequency. It is about unlearning everything that has kept you asleep. So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to that is keeping you from this state? What beliefs, what fears, what stories? Because the moment you let go, even for a moment, you will feel it. That shift, that lightness, that deep knowing that you are already everything you have been searching for. And when you reach that moment, the world will not look the same. Colors will seem more vibrant. Sounds will carry a deeper resonance. Even the most ordinary moments will feel sacred. You will realize that heaven was never a place, it was a state of being, and it was always within you. But here's the most incredible part: when you operate at this vibration, you begin to elevate those around you. Without saying a word, without trying to change anyone, your mere presence shifts the energy of a room. People feel drawn to you, not because of what you have, but because of what you are. You become a mirror, reflecting back to them the truth of who they are. So the real question is, are you ready for this? Are you ready to let go of everything that is not you? Because if you are, the universe is already waiting. The shift is already happening. The only thing left to do is step into it. Then you begin to step into this highest vibration. Something profound happens. You no longer feel separate from the universe. You no longer feel like a person walking through life, struggling to find meaning. Instead, you feel like life itself, flowing effortlessly, expressing itself through you. You become the observer and the observed, the dreamer and the dream. This is the state that the 1% of chosen ones experience when their vibration reaches its peak. It is not something that can be taught, only realized. But here is the paradox: when you reach this level, words become almost meaningless. Language was created to describe the physical world, to label things, to separate one object from another. But in this state, you see that there is no separation. You exist in a space beyond words, beyond logic, beyond the mind itself. And yet, we must try to describe it, because the mind still seeks understanding. One of the first things you notice when your vibration is at its highest level is the feeling of timelessness. Time, as we know it, is an illusion, merely a way to measure change. But when you are fully present, when your mind is silent, time dissolves. You no longer feel like you are moving through life. Life is moving through you. You could sit in deep meditation for hours, yet it feels like mere moments. And in those moments you understand something that cannot be explained. You were never bound by time to begin with. And then something even deeper happens. Your intuition becomes razor sharp. You no longer need to analyze, overthink, or seek external guidance. Answers come to you in an instant, as if whispered directly from the universe itself. You start to feel people's energy before they even speak. You instinctively know when to move forward, when to step back, when to let go. Life no longer feels like a series of difficult choices. It feels like a perfectly orchestrated dance where every step is revealed at the exact right moment. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly trusted yourself? Not just in small decisions, but in the deepest sense. When was the last time you knew, without a doubt, that you were exactly where you needed to be, that everything was unfolding in perfect harmony? Because when your vibration is at its highest level, trust is no longer a question, it is a way of being. You trust because you see the truth, that there was never anything to fear, never anything to doubt. This is why fear begins to dissolve at this level. Fear only exists when you believe you are separate from life, when you believe that something out there can harm you. But when you realize that you are life itself, fear loses its grip. You no longer react from a place of survival, you respond from a place of deep knowing. You understand that even challenges, even pain, even loss are not punishments, but invitations. Invitations to grow, to expand, to remember who you really are. And here is something that very few people talk about. When your vibration reaches this level, you may experience a strange phenomenon. People around you start to behave differently. Some are drawn to you, inexplicably, as if they can sense something in you that they have been searching for their entire lives. Others may distance themselves, not because they dislike you, but because your very presence forces them to confront their own illusions. You become a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. This is why many who reach this state feel a deep sense of detachment, not from love, not from compassion, but from attachment itself. You no longer cling to people, to identities, to outcomes. You love fully, but without possession. You give freely, but without expectation. You exist in a state of pure presence, knowing that everything that is meant for you will flow to you effortlessly. But let me ask you this: are you truly ready to let go? Because most people think they are, but when faced with the reality of surrender, they hesitate. The ego does not want to dissolve. It will fight, it will create stories, it will convince you that you must hold on to something, anything, to maintain control. But control is an illusion. The moment you release it, you realize you never needed it in the first place. And this is where something miraculous happens. When you truly surrender, life begins to move through you in ways you never imagined. Manifestation is no longer about effort, it is about alignment. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer force, you allow. You become a beacon of energy so powerful that the universe cannot help but respond to you. This is why those who reach this state often experience what some would call miracles. But in truth, they are not miracles, they are simply the natural state of existence when you are fully aligned. You think of something, and it appears. You meet the right people at the right time. Opportunities unfold effortlessly. But this is not magic, it is simply the result of vibrating at a level where resistance no longer exists. And yet, there is one final challenge that comes with this state, a challenge that few ever speak about. When you reach this level of vibration, you realize that you no longer need anything from the world. You are whole, complete, fulfilled from within. And yet, the world will still call to you. It will ask you to share, to teach, to guide. Not because you need to, but because the highest expression of love is to give, to uplift, to awaken others. So the final question is this: once you reach this state, what will you do with it? Will you retreat into solitude, knowing you have found peace? Or will you step forward, knowing that your light can ignite the awakening of others? Because this is the path of the true chosen ones, not just to awaken, but to help others awaken as well. And now we reach the final stage, the point where the journey comes full circle. But here's the thing: when your vibration is at its highest level, you realize that there was never a journey to begin with. There was never a destination, never a path, never a moment where you were separate from your own awakening. The illusion was always that you had to become something more, when in reality you were always everything. The 1% of chosen ones who reach this state do not see themselves as superior, enlightened, or special. That is the mistake many make when they seek spiritual power. They believe that awakening makes them different, when in truth, it simply makes them more themselves. It strips away everything that was never real. The fears, the identities, the attachments, the illusions, all of it dissolves, and what remains is something so pure, so infinite, that words can barely touch it. At this stage, you understand something profound. There are no more questions. Not because you have all the answers, but because you realize that the mind was the one asking all along. And the mind, as powerful as it is, was only ever a tool. It is not who you are. You are the space in which the mind arises. You are the awareness that witnesses the thoughts, the emotions, the experiences, but you are never bound by them. And yet, paradoxically, this is also where life becomes the most beautiful. Because now, you do not escape the world, you embrace it fully. You feel emotions more deeply than ever, but they do not control you. You experience joy, but you do not cling to it. You experience pain, but you do not resist it. Everything is seen as part of the great unfolding, the infinite dance of existence. But let me ask you something: if you knew, with absolute certainty, that you were already everything you have been looking for, how would you live differently? If you knew that nothing was missing, that nothing needed to be fixed, that you were already whole, would you still seek? Would you still chase? Or would you finally allow yourself to just be? Because this is the final test. Most people, when they reach this level, will feel a deep pull to return to seeking. The mind will whisper, there must be more. There must be a higher level. There must be something else. But that is the last illusion. There is no higher level. There is no final secret. There is only this moment, this presence, this infinite now. And this is where the greatest freedom comes. You realize that you no longer need to escape life to be at peace. You no longer need to meditate for hours just to feel stillness. You no longer need to seek validation, success, or meaning from outside yourself. Because everything is already here. This is why the chosen ones who reach this vibration do not live in monasteries or on mountaintops. They live among us. They walk the same streets. They speak the same words. They experience the same world. But they see it differently. They see the divine in the ordinary. They see the infinite in the moment. They see themselves in everything and everything in themselves. And when you reach this state, something incredible happens. You stop trying to change the world, and yet the world changes around you. Not because you force it, but because your very presence shifts reality. You speak, and your words carry a frequency that awakens something deep in others. And you act, and your actions ripple out in ways you cannot even begin to comprehend. You exist, and your existence alone is enough to transform lives. This is why the final realization is not about personal enlightenment, it is about service. Not in the sense of sacrifice, but in the sense of natural giving. When you are full, when you are whole, When you are overflowing with the infinite energy of existence, you cannot help but give. Not because you need to, not because you should, but because it is simply who you are. And so, the final question is this: now that you know, now that you feel this truth deep within your being, what will you do with it? Will you live as you always have, pretending to be small, pretending to be separate? Or will you step fully into who you are, not as an idea, not as a belief, but as a living embodiment of the highest vibration? Because the world does not need more seekers. It does not need more people searching for enlightenment, but it needs those who have remembered, those who have stepped beyond the illusion, those who have become the light, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. And if you are here, if you have felt even a glimpse of what I am saying, then you already know you are one of them. You always have been. The only thing left to do is live it.